Krishna Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Nice to be here in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi, Lakshmi, Hare Krishna. Who else? My black brothers and black sisters. Sharada here?
Yeah.
Steven's here. Hare Krishna. I don't remember the last time I was here. No. 2019. But, yeah.
Before COVID.
Just
before COVID.
Just before COVID. Yeah. I seem to be saying that in a lot of places. BC. Before COVID. And what's AD?
And the time of crisis.
I was just going to read from something this evening and speak maybe a little bit from Upadeshamrita. I speak a lot on this verse. Can everyone hear okay? Or am I speaking too softly? Put it closer to my mouth. Hare Krishna. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I speak a lot on this verse, Dati Pratigrinati Gunamakati Prikshati. Srila Rupa Goswami has given instructions, very relevant instructions about how to advance in the path of bhakti. And this verse that we're going to read from speaks about loving exchanges between devotees. In the course of my travels, I oftentimes get questions about how to have loving exchanges. Something not so easy sometimes. How to define what is a loving exchange, what is the benefit of a loving exchange, and how is it that loving exchanges are, what is their place, what is their role of loving exchanges in the advancement of devotional service along the path of pure devotional service. Why would our Acharya, Srila Rupa Goswami, speak about this topic? Srila Rupa Goswami is, we are known as Rupanugas, followers of Rupa Goswami. He has actually given us the essence by the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of Bhakti Tattva. He is described in great detail about what is real love for Krishna. What are the different types of loving relationships one has with Krishna? What is the criteria of a loving relationship with Krishna? What is required to achieve a loving relationship with Krishna? All these things are described in detail in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which Rupa Goswami is most noted for giving to the world of And he did so on the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is described by Lord Chaitanya entered into the heart of Srila Rupa Goswami. Just in the same way he revealed the depth of Vedic wisdom in the heart of Lord Brahma. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered into the heart of Srila Rupa Goswami and made him a fully realized soul whose conclusions all completely agree with the conclusions of Vedic literature's tattva. He was empowered. And he's given so much of this Bhakti Tattva in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, yet he has given in Upadeshamrita these very, very important instructions for all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. How is it, how can we achieve this love? Srila Prabhupada would oftentimes say that any religious system that teaches its followers how to love God is a bona fide system of religion. And he would make no discrimination that we accept any religious system as long as it teaches how to love God. If it doesn't teach how to love God, then it falls short of what is real religion. The goal is to learn how to love. Yet we see in our efforts to love, we find there are many obstacles. Many of these obstacles are there within our own heart. And these are also discussed in various places in the Vedic literatures about the kind of obstacles that exist within the heart that need to be overcome if one wants to make progress along the path of bhakti, such as jiva himsa, which is envy towards living entities, and patishta, the desire for glorification, puja, desire for worship, kutinati, fault-finding. These and more are given as obstacles which obstruct the heart from its natural flow of love, which is the constitutional nature of every living being. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Sajja Kavinoi, Shavanadi Sutichiti Kori Udoi, as explained by Kaviraj Goswami, that pure love for Krishna is eternally situated in the heart of every living being. But it has to be brought out from within the heart by hearing about Krishna. And although it's our constitutional nature to love God, without coming in contact with such teachings as that which was given by Srila Rupa Goswami in the association of devotees, it's very difficult to fully manifest this love which is innate within every living being. Prabhupada gives the example, just like wood has, by its constitution, there's fire which is hidden inside the wood, but the catalyst has to be put against the wood, the spark, in order to bring the fire out of the wood. In the same way, this love is there, and the catalyst is, of course, association with Krishna's devotees and association with the holy name of the Lord. And by association with the holy name of the Lord, gradually the heart becomes cleansed from these unwanted obstacles along the path of bhakti. But it's a struggle. So many of us are still struggling with these obstacles. Sometimes we question, Kavi Havi Bolo Sindinamar Haparada Gucci Shuranamaruchi. But oh, when will that day be mine? When the taste of the name of the Lord will be increasing when my offenses will be ceasing, when in my heart will your mercy shine. When, oh, when will the day be mine, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his bhajans. Takes the position of a fallen jiva and speaks from that platform in order to help us understand what is it what we need to do to cultivate. Prabhupada in the Upadeshamrita in the beginning, he says, Bhakti is simply cultivation of desire. That is all. The desire is the eternal companion of the soul. But how to cultivate that desire? These teachings are given by Srila Rupa Goswami and all of our previous acharyas, how to cultivate the desire within the heart. It's there, it's natural to love, but it needs to be brought out. And it needs to be brought out by association, by contact with the name. As Rupa Goswami explains later in Upadeshamrita, that the holy name, form, qualities, pastimes are all transcendently sweet, just like sugar cane. But one who's been afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, he cannot taste anything sweet. And it is very wonderful that if one very carefully goes on chanting these sweet names every day, then what happens is that a natural desires, taste is awakened from the tongue, and the disease of the jaundice of that disease becomes destroyed at the root. Simple analogy Prabhupada gives that jaundice can only be cured by sugar. It's the cure for jaundice. It tastes very bitter. In the same way, if we want to cure what it is that's impediment in our path of devotional service, just today I happened to be reading a verse, Svasyastu Bhakti. Svasyastu Bhakti, I can't remember the Sanskrit. It's 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Allah Prasidata. Prahlad Maharaj is offering in his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. He says in his prayers, may all envious persons become satisfied. May all living entities become peaceful and become non-envious by engaging in bhakti. And only then will they actually be able to think of the welfare of others. One actually has to clear that. And he gives the recommended processes, so the only way to become free from this envy within the heart is by constant meditation upon the lotus feet of Krishna. This is what gradually purifies and cleanses the heart. So love is our constitutional nature, and it also has to begin by learning how to love Vaishnavas. We can't love Vaishnavas, and how can we ever love Krishna? The example is given just like if one is looking off into the distance. It's a very high mountain, such as like Mount Everest. If one can see off in the distance Mount Everest, and one thinks that one is just a Mount Everest in himself, that's all he sees. But as he gets closer to Mount Everest, and closer, the more he sees, there are many subordinate mountains also, and valleys and hills next to it. But you can't see it when you're far away. You just see the high mountain. So this example is that sometimes we think that it's just me and Krishna. Nobody else is important. But if you want to get close to Krishna, you're going to find that the only way to get close to Krishna is you have to get close to his devotees. Because one of Krishna's qualities is he's always surrounded by devotees. There's no way around it. So if you want to get close to Krishna, you have to accept it. Learning how to get close to his devotees is a way to get close to Krishna. Especially Lord Chaitanya's instructed, Gopi Bharta Pada Kamala Yor Dasa 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 Das. They took the position, and I'm either a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Vyasta, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. My position, and I'm simply a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. In fact, the more the devotee is removed in service to Krishna's servants, the closer he is to Krishna. Krishna becomes so pleased by that service. And he even tells Arjuna, the one who says he's my devotee, he's not my devotee. My devotee is the devotee of my devotee. That's my devotee. So, we aspire to come closer to Krishna, but how to become closer to Krishna unless we learn how to love devotees? And one of the characteristics of a neophyte devotee is he doesn't know how to love devotees. He sees only Krishna and the deity, but he doesn't see Krishna in the heart of other living beings. That's the symptom of a neophyte devotee. But as one makes progress along the path of devotional service, he begins to understand that Krishna is situated within the heart of every living being, and he's giving direction within the heart of every living being how to come closer to him in the ways he teaches in Bhagavad Gita. And one has to learn how to see with equal vision. Vijayanaya Sampane Brahmani Gavahastini, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. The other day I was telling one story. I had read a story about Prabhupada. And somebody had told the story of an anecdote of Prabhupada somewhere in India. Might have been Mumbai. Prabhupada was sitting and speaking to a group of people, and an Indian man was challenging Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada, sometimes he would speak strongly, he would use words like Buddha. But Prabhupada, the man was saying, Swamiji, why are you speaking such a way? You should be samadarshana. Don't you know what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita? That the humble sage, by virtue of true wisdom, he sees with equal vision the gentle and learned Brahmin, the cow, the dog, and even the dog eater. Gentle cow, Brahmin, dog eater. And Prabhupada's response to that was, he said, no, that's higher. I'm not so high. That's higher platform. He says, but Swamiji, when you use these words, why don't you see everyone? He says, no, he said, I see according to Krishna's vision. And Krishna's vision is, he says, Namam Duskritina Mudha, or Bhajate Naradama. He quotes the 4 types of people do not surrender to him. He said, but my Samadarshana, my equal vision is, I tell everyone this, and make no discrimination. That is my Samadarshana. I make no discrimination. I'll tell you what Krishna says something, and then the man says, but Swamiji, he said, but don't you, what about you? What do you have to say? You're always repeating somebody else, but what do you have to say? And Prabhupada was very firm in his response, saying, no. He said, I stand firm in the words of Krishna and Bhagavad Gita. I simply repeat what he has said. He said, that is our position, simply to repeat what we have heard from Krishna and his devotees. So that's Prabhupada's Samadarshana. He says, I make no distinction. I'll tell you that also. But Krishna says, Namam Duskritina Mudha. So, That's how I got off on that point. It's a small tangent. Anyways, I said I was going to read a little bit, so I don't want to distract from reading something from Srila Prabhupada, from Upadesha Rita, about love. And how to actually learn how to love devotees. So this is text 4. Dadati bhattagurnati guhyam akyati pachchati bhunte bhojayate chaiva sadvidham vitti lakshanam. Translation. Offering gifts and charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasadam and offering prasadam are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Now repeat it. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasadam, and offering prasadam are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Purport. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional service in the association of other devotees. There are 6 kinds of activities. 1, giving charity to the devotees. 2, accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return. 3, opening one's mind to the devotees. 4, inquiring from them about the confidential service of the Lord. 5, honoring prasadam, or spiritual food, given by the devotees. And 6, feeding the devotees with prasadam. An experienced devotee explains and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is guhyam akyati pichyati. When a devotee distributes prasadam, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this. Excuse me. We must accept this prasadam as the Lord's grace received through the pure devotees. We should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasadam, and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called bhunte bhojayate chaiva. Say a few words. Om Jnana Timarandasya Niranjana Salakaya Chakshu Anilitam Hina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ukam Karoti Vachalam Om Namo Gayate Gani Yat Pipatamaham Vade Shri Gurave Namaha Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pucharani Nirvishesha Shanyavari Paschachade Satarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There are 6 principles described here, which are the foundation of loving exchanges between devotees. Offering something. Of course, offering something in love. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patam Pushpam Balam Tayom Yoni Bhakya Prayashti. If one offers me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, with love, then I'm very inclined to accept that offering. In many places, Chaitanya Bhagavan Vrindavan Das Thakur describes it in many different pastimes. And it's also in Srimad Bhagavatam, that the Lord is not so much inclined to accept offerings from those who don't have love. I quote the verse, Prahlad Maharaj, in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that speaking to his classmates, he addresses them, my friend, dear friends, sons of demons. You can't please the Supreme Personality of Godhead even if you become expert Brahmins, even if you become advanced in etiquette of vast learning, nor by austerities, nor by accepting vows, nor by chastity, nor by great sacrifices. None of these activities in of themselves are sufficient to awaken the Lord's pleasure. When you hear about this list, great sacrifices, austerities, accepting vows, becoming expert Brahmin, someone may think, why wouldn't the Lord be pleased by becoming an expert Brahmin? What Prabhupada oftentimes will quote that verse, Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya Jati Shastra Japastata Aparnasi Vadena Mandalam Lokaranjana. For a person who's devoid of devotion, then even if he's expert at chanting all kinds of Vedic mantras, even if he's fully qualified as a Brahmin, even if he performs all austerities, all kinds of austerities, even if he's taken his birth in a great family or nation, this verse says that all of these are like ornaments on a dead body. They simply serve the concocted pleasures of the general populace. Why are they ornaments on a dead body? What is their value if there's no devotion? It's no value. Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya, a person who's devoid of devotion, even if he has all these qualifications, they're ornaments on a dead body. So Prahlad Maharaj is making the same principle, even if you perform all kinds of austerities and great sacrifices, expert Brahmin, advanced in etiquette, vast learning. None of these things will awaken the Lord's pleasure. The Lord is pleased only when one has unflinching, unalloyed devotion to Him. And without sincere devotion, everything else that's done is simply a show. Simply a show. Why? Why is it a show? Because the Lord's not looking. Krishna's looking for devotion. Wherever there is devotion, there's so many wonderful stories about the Lord's inclination to reciprocate with devotion. Pastimes of the Lord. How devotion captures Him, makes Him subservient, makes Him totally submissive to his devotee, so much so that the Lord is so much controlled. Krishna tells Uddhava that the unalloyed devotional service rendered by my devotee brings me under his control. I cannot be so controlled by Sankhya Yoga. I cannot be controlled by austerities. These things, they're not particularly of any interest to me. They don't draw my attention. What draws my attention is love. So Prahlad is saying that without sincere devotion, everything else is a show, because Krishna looks, what's the intention? As we said, bhakti is the cultivation of desire. Krishna looks from within the heart and he knows how much we want to please him. He knows how much we're cultivating a desire to know him. He knows how much we're trying to remember him. He knows everything. So, she says, Tesham Ivana Kampatam Aham Ajnana Jamtama. Out of compassion for them, I am dwelling within their hearts. I destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness, more of ignorance. And of course, Tesham Satatam Yutanam Bhajam Kampriti Purvakam. Those who are constantly engaged in my devotional service, and I give them the understanding from within the heart how they can come to me. Krishna is very much inclined to respond when there's an effort to please him. But as Prahlad says, without sincere devotion, it's meant for somebody else's attention because you won't get Krishna's. It's still some desire there for, as we spoke of, fame, worship, nartas that we described that are there within the heart that need to be cleansed. But if we cultivate a desire to please Krishna, then Krishna says, Tesham Evana, what is that verse? Tesham Evana Kamprata. I give them the understanding for which they can come to me, but I'm sorry, what is that verse? Tesham Sati, no, this is the other verse. Huh? Anyway, no, there's another verse. Krishna says, I protect, I preserve what they have and I care. Ananya Shinta Yatomam Yujana Pai Pashate. Tesham Vishpiyopranam Yoga Kshendra Baham. Yes. Those who are always endeavoring to remember me, meditating upon me, then I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So, the criteria, what Krishna is interested in accepting an offering is when it's offered with love. And if there's no love, he's not so much inclined to accept. So another verse from the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam, but it escapes me. But Narada Muni explains the same principle. But so Krishna is teaching how to accept when something is offered with love. Then what makes the offering complete is the Lord is very much inclined to accept something. Like the story of Shukla Brahmachari, such a wonderful story in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Described how Shukla Brahmachari, he lived very simply. He carried his deity with him wherever he would go. He would simply beg rice, a few grains of rice. People would ridicule him, make fun of him, because he looked like a beggar. And but he didn't mind. It was described in Vrindavan Das Thakur describes about Shukla Brahmachari that he would purposely go to the homes of the most impoverished householders. You would think somebody's a beggar, they would go where the getting is good. He would go to the homes of the most impoverished householders, and he would beg, and they would simply give him some broken rice, a few grains of broken rice. He would go from house to house, collect a few grains of broken rice, and that would be his offering that he would prepare and offer to his deity. But Vrindavan Das Thakur said of Shukla Brahmachari that although he lived in this way, he didn't even know what the meaning of poverty was. Now, how is that possible? Someone makes question, how is it if somebody lives like that and he doesn't know the meaning of poverty? It indicates that because he's satisfied. Satisfied. Narayanak paraksabe nakutashmi. In any condition of life, a devotee is satisfied. Whether he's heaven, hell, liberated, for him it's all the same. Why? Because he's only interested in one thing, service. So Shukla Baba was very satisfied. He lived very simply. He didn't live in a cumbersome way of life. And he would just live by begging, and he would be absorbed in remembering the Lord, and offering food to the Lord, and taking only what was necessary to maintain body and soul. And Lord Chaitanya, one day he saw Shukla Baba. And he called Shukla Baba to come to him. And when Shukla Baba came to him, he thought he was carrying this satchel over his shoulder with some grains of broken rice. And Lord Chaitanya, as soon as he came close enough, he reached out and snatched the satchel and began eating it. And Shukla Baba was mortified. He said, "This is not fit for you. Please, please, don't take, don't take." And Lord Chaitanya was taking and relishing it. Wanted it. Why? Because it was coming from the hands of his devotee. When the Lord is so inclined to take something from the hands of his devotee, that sometimes, in this particular case, he didn't even wait for Shukla Baba to offer it. He was so eager to take it. Madhava Das Thakur says, with a devotee who has love, the Lord is so much inclined to accept his offering that he breaks to powder all the mudras and mantras to become irrelevant. It's like sometimes when we make our offering, we do the mudras, mantras, everything. We think if they're not done properly, then the offering won't be accepted. But when there's devotion, mudras and mantras, irrelevant. The Lord doesn't wait for the mudras and mantras. He actually snatches it, takes it. Because he's so eager. He wants something from the hand of his devotee. Another pastime with Shukla Brahmachari, later in Chaitanya Bhagavata. One time Lord Chaitanya asked Shukla Baba to please prepare some food for him. And Shukla Baba, he's very humble, simple, and as all elevated Vaishnavas, they think themselves, the more advanced they are, the more they think themselves less qualified, unfit to serve the Lord. They're inadequate in their love for the Lord. They naturally think this way out of genuine humility. And of course that's what captures the Lord's attention, is genuine humility. But the Lord specifically told Shukla Baba, he said, "Please, I want you to cook for me." And Shukla Baba said, "No. How's that possible? How can you take something from my hands?" And so he started to go around to all the Vaishnavas and asking the Vaishnavas, "What should I do? The Lord has asked me to cook for him. I'm not qualified to cook. I'm very so fallen and degraded. What can I possibly cook that would be pleasing to him?" And the Vaishnavas told him, they said, "Don't worry." They said, "The Lord is very much naturally inclined to accept food from the hands of his devotees." And just like they gave the example, just like Krishna was very, very eager to take the offering of Vidura once when he had a plate, and he was in his ecstasy, instead of offering bananas, he was offering the peels to Krishna. Krishna was accepting them and eating them out of his ecstasy, inclined to take from his devotee. So the Vaishnavas were telling Shukla Baba, "Don't worry." And he said, "If you're so worried about cooking for him, then what you should do is go back and prepare something for him. And don't touch it with your hands. And that way you'll be able to at least be pacified, so you won't be in distress about the Lord won't have to take it from your hands. You just cook and don't touch anything with your hands." He said, "That's a good idea." So he returned and went to the kitchen and very carefully took rice and ghee and other ingredients, and he mixed it all without touching it with his hands. And as he was preparing it, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, the goddess of fortune entered into the kitchen and made everything that he prepared to taste so wonderful. As he was just meditating on pleasing the Lord. And then the Lord went to perform his noonday duties, and after returning, he came to the home of Shuklambar, and he entered the house and looked at Shuklambar within the eyes. And Shuklambar, immediately the Lord sat down and brought to him the rice, prepared ghee and other preparations that he had cooked for him without touching him. Lord Chaitanya sat down and immediately began honoring it. He said, Shuklambar, how have you cooked such wonderful, wonderful preparations for me without touching me? Lord Chaitanya knew him, he understood everything. And then he said to Shuklambar, he says, friends like you are the root from which I grow. So appreciative. Because that's how inclined the Lord is to take something from his devotee. He's inclined to accept something with his love. So, Krishna says that Pacham Pushpam Palam Toyam, if you offer me leaf, flower, fruit, or water with love, I want it. But what is a leaf for Krishna? Well, a simple leaf, flower, little water, everything is his. It's the love. So if Krishna shows us by his example how much he's inclined to accept when there's love, and he wants to give something in return. This is a natural exchange, a loving exchange. When something's offered in love, natural loving exchange is you want to give something in return. I like to tell the best. I know I've told it before, but it's such a perfect example of Durvasa Muni. Because it really highlights how much Krishna wants to accept an offering of love. An offering, whatever it is, when it's made with love. Wow, I remember before that I was thinking of Prahlad Maharaj. When Lord Nrsimhadev asked Prahlad Maharaj to ask him for a benediction. Prahlad Maharaj said, don't ask me to ask for a benediction. Don't you know I was born in a family of demons? Why tempt me with such an offering? I serve you because you're my master. If you're asking me to ask you for benediction, then you be my master and let me be your servant, birth after birth. This is the benediction I ask. This is, again, the example of a devotee. Of course, the Lord did give him a benediction. And Prahlad did ask for a benediction to forgive his father. But anyways, the story of Durvasa Muni highlights this inclination that the Lord has to reciprocate with love. And I won't tell the whole pastime. I'm sure most of you are aware of what happened to Durvasa Muni when he cursed Maharaj Ambarish, because Maharaj Ambarish apparently broke his fast prematurely and did not receive Durvasa Muni appropriately by apparently eating before his guest ate. Anyways, I won't tell the whole story. But the point was, as Durvasa Muni became very angry, and he invoked a fiery demon to punish Maharaj Ambarish. And the Lord invoked his Sudarshan chakra to destroy the fiery demon, and then to chase Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni then fled, went to take shelter of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma said, I can't do anything to help you. Went to take shelter of Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva said, I can't do anything to help you. You have to go to Lord Vishnu. He invoked the Sudarshan chakra. So he goes to Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu tells him, I can't do anything to help you. Durvasa Muni. Hey, you're the last stop. Who do I go to if I can't go to you? You would go, and I'm taking shelter of you. There's something a little bit inappropriate here, that I've come before you, and certainly when a person comes before you and takes shelter of you and is begging for your protection, certainly you must feel a sense of compassion towards them, and you will protect them. Don't you think in this way? In essence, he was asking the Lord, where's your heart? And the Lord explained very clearly in detail. It says, the devotee is always in my heart, and I am always in the heart of my devotee. The devotee is only one who's always thinking about me, and I don't think about anybody but him. And the Acharyas explained that the meaning of this verse, when Lord Vishnu said that, I'm sorry, I'm completely under the control of my devotee, I can't do anything to help you. They explained that Durvasa Muni was asking the Lord to please be kind, think about my suffering, and have a heart to protect me. And the Lord explained to Durvasa Muni, he said that you don't understand the nature of my relationship with my devotees. My devotees take me into their heart, and they always serve me so meticulously, so nicely. They're always so eager to render some service to please me. And because they're so eager to render some service to please me, naturally, I want to reciprocate. So what do? I say to my devotee, please ask for me. Oh, anything you like. But my devotees always say, I don't want anything. I just want to serve you. That's what makes me the happiest. And then I beg them, please accept. Just like he did with Kolavecha Shrida. I told Kolavecha Shrida, I'll make you a king who is living in poverty. I'll make you a king. Kolavecha Shrida said, no, you be my master, let me be your servant, birth after birth. That's all. I'm not interested. So this is the nature of the devotee. He's happy with the opportunity to serve. So Lord told this to Durvasa Muni. He said, I kept on asking Maharaj Ambarish, let me give you something in return. This is my nature. I want something, offer something with love. I want to give something in return. But I can't give him anything. He's not inclined, except all he wants is to serve me. So I reached into the treasure house, and I took out the most valuable treasure to give to him. You're asking me for my heart? Sorry, I don't have one. I gave it to Maharaj Ambarish. He has my heart. If you want my heart, you got to go to him. And you're asking me to think about you, but I'm sorry. I'm only thinking about my devotees. You're thinking about your own protection. But I'm my devotees. In fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada brings out, highlights the point about Maharaj Ambarish, that Maharaj Ambarish was so attached to remembering the Lord that out of natural inclination, that when he was put in a dangerous situation, he didn't even ask the Lord to protect him. He didn't say, oh Lord, please protect me. He didn't ask. He just did what was most natural. He remembered the Lord. And because of his firm devotion, the Lord, as he described to Durvasa Muni, I gave him my heart. So I can either think of your suffering or can you get my compassion. But if you want my compassion, then just go to Maharaj Ambarish. He's got my heart. You'll get everything from my heart from him. That's how much the Lord is inclined to give himself. He gives himself to love. So, of course, I'm speaking a lot about the Lord, and the whole verse is about devotees. How to have loving relationships with devotees. But the same principle is there. If we actually want to have loving relationships with the Lord, we have to learn how to have loving relationships with devotees. And having loving relationships with devotees means I serve without expecting something in return. You know, sometimes people read this verse, giving in charity, accepting charity, they think, yeah, okay, I'll give. I'll give. In 3 days, nothing's come back. Doesn't he know why I give it? You know? Sometimes they think that but that's not love. Prahlad Maharaj already said, that's a merchant. That's a mercantile relationship. If you want to offer something with love, you don't expect something in return. I do it because I love you. I love you and I want to serve you. I don't expect anything in return. Why would I be most happy? Just like the devotee. When devotee is most happy is when the Lord accepts it. Then he's so happy. That's the perfection of all his service. That's the goal of everything he does. Somehow, somehow or other, one performs his duties in such a way that the Lord will be satisfied by my duties, execution of my service. That is perfection. So the devotee is satisfied when the Lord accepts it. But as we said, Prahlad Maharaj said, it's not so easy to get the Lord to look at an offering when there's no love. We really have to cultivate the desire to please him. Then he's inclined. Cultivating, Prabhupada says in the beginning of Upadeshamrita, bhakti is a cultivation of desire. Let me do something to please him. Even if it's difficult. Sometimes, let me do something to please the devotee. Sometimes I have this experience, sometimes when I try to render service to some devotees, they won't let me do it. I have to find ways, sneak different ways of how to render service to devotees so that they won't refuse to accept it. But this is when this loving exchange, accepting gifts, and giving gifts, and of course the person who's being given the gift, the loving exchange is complete when he accepts, oh, thank you so much. You've offered this to me. Whatever small, what may look very insignificant, the devotee is very much inclined to accept it when there's love. Of course, accepting prasadam, giving prasadam, and revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. I often speak about this point, but that's a whole class in of itself, and I'm not going to speak past 8 o'clock tonight, so I'm going to end at 8. But it's very difficult to have to reveal one's mind in confidence and inquire confidentially. Especially in the modern age, because it's so difficult, because people are always afraid if I say something confidential, it's going to come back somehow through somebody else's mouth. It's very hard to have confidential relationships. Why? Because people don't know how to control the urge to speak.
Or the internet.
Huh?
Or the internet.
Well, that was my next point. Or the internet. And somebody thinks if I say something confidentially, then tomorrow it'll be on Facebook. I can't say anything. I can't say anything. But this is a loving relationship. It's a loving exchange. To inquire confidentially and to reveal one's mind in confidence. And to have that kind of relationship, of course, it's a loving relationship when it's done, when there's a natural relationship that exists between one devotee and another. But it's not so easy to have that kind of relationship when we expect somebody else to love me first. If somebody loves me first, we expect it, then okay. But unfortunately, if one who's possessed or obsessed with the taking mentality, he may not be able to recognize who his real friends are. One has to invest. If one wants to have a loving relationship, one has to look for somebody that they can trust and then render some service. And if they're actually really somebody they can trust, then that person will naturally reciprocate in a way that will reveal that I'm capable of having a loving relationship with this devotee. Because he won't exploit my services. He won't exploit, or she won't exploit, my intentions to offer some service. He's satisfied. He's satisfied in his service to Krishna. She's satisfied in her service to Krishna. Therefore, he's accepting some offering because he accepts my intent. I want to please the devotee. These types of loving relationships, they need to be cultivated, but without them, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in Sri Bhakti Loka, without them, then unfortunately there's no shelter in the association of devotees, and one will look for it elsewhere. He specifically explains in great detail, and he says he defines what is association. He says association begins when there's piti, affection or love. Shadvidham piti lakshana. He said, otherwise, if there's no priti, there's no loving relationship. Still selfishness. And sometimes we associate with mundane people, and he explains specifically that the association with persons who are completely mundane, who are self-centered and selfish, said one exchanges in these ways, but out of duty. Person may give food to a hungry man, but he does it, a householder gives it out of duty. Well, Prabhupada talks about this. I didn't get to it. Maybe we'll get to it tomorrow. Talks about these types of loving exchanges amongst mundane people. But loving relationships is something different. Krishna teaches us how to have loving relationships. And I've only scratched the surface, and it's 8 o'clock. And maybe I'll stop here and we can continue on this topic tomorrow. If you allow me. And does anybody have any questions? Yes?
We were talking about loving exchanges. And all of us crave for loving exchanges and affection. But what can we do ourselves as individuals to allow those relationships to flourish? So say, be an instrument of someone allowing to, express their heart. Sometimes, we might be the problem. So, any tips that...
Well, that's a good start. A good start is recognizing I might be the problem. Look at my own heart first, because the tendency is immediately to find shortcomings and faults in others, which is an easy way to pass off the responsibility for looking within our own heart, because it's easier to see shortcomings in others and point them out than to see them in ourselves. So it's a good start to start with ourselves, and actually that's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about in Sri Bhakti Loka. He talks about sadhakas, how sadhakas have to do the work of looking within their heart, and specifically not looking for faults in others, but seeing within his own. I'll read something to you. It's a good one. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And I don't know, I saw this in the house and I just picked it up for some reason. I was going to read it along the way. And I opened, when I opened it up, the bookmark belonged to the bookmark was right there. So this is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He says, we should display anger toward those who are envious of devotees. This is a particular limb of devotional service. A lack of anger against blasphemers is unjustified. This means that we should become angry. We should control our anger, but according to Narottam Das Thakur, anger can be dovetailed. And anger is dovetailed when we see another devotee being harmed or blasphemed, then we become angry at the offender. Towards ourselves, we're willing to tolerate. But if we see another devotee, this is how we can engage anger. Like Hanuman, he's an example of somebody who engaged his anger. So he said, a lack of anger against blasphemers is unjustified. But we need to understand who is actually envious of devotees. Those who do not serve the Supreme Lord, the Supersoul, and most blissful friend of all living entities, do not benefit themselves, but instead invite trouble by their envy of Krishna and the Vaishnavas. Such people are branded as envious, and we should not show them mercy. These people become intoxicated by worshipping materialists. We should both ignore them and display our anger toward them. But, this is the point I want to make, but before that, we have to see whether we ourselves are envious of devotees, whether we ourselves are actually serving Krishna. Or are we serving something else on the pretext of serving Krishna? How much are we attached to Krishna? Are we trying to enjoy the objects meant for Krishna's enjoyment? I think my enjoyment-prone material body is fiercely envious of Krishna and his devotees. Because instead of thinking constantly of Krishna's lotus feet and happiness, I am busy worrying about my own happiness, blaspheming others, and looking for faults. I do not look at myself at all. I'm such an offender at the feet of devotees that I should first learn to display anger toward myself. I'm so envious of devotees that I should beat myself with shoes simply to purify myself. Then I can set an example for others and sincerely engage in the service of Hari, Guru, and the Vaishnavas. I must remember that everyone is worshipping Hari but me. I am unable to do so. I should also remember that I may die at any moment. So first we should show anger toward our own sinful propensities, such as our desire for profit, adoration, and distinction, and our propensity to cheat others. We must correct ourselves first, otherwise we cannot correct others. Then we have to correct those who are related to us, who are envious of the spiritual master of Krishna, and who are pulling us toward material enjoyment by tempting us. This is the secret of success. It's a lot. But in other words, we have to look within first. That's a start. Avoid looking for faults in others. Said of great Vaishnavas in Chaitanya Charitamrita, they are adosha-dashi. Adosha-dashi means one who sees no faults. They don't look for them. And what is Srila Rupa Goswami saying in the next verse, after this verse of Upadeshamrita? He says, describes the different levels of devotees, how we should offer, within our mind, we offer respect to somebody who's chanting Krishna's name, but from a distance. Because we may see his behavior may not be so popular. So from a distance, we respect him because at least he's chanting, but from a distance. And somebody who's more fully engaged and is initiated and more fully engaged in service, then offer our obeisances to them. Not from a distance, we come before them, offer up. But for those who are completely devoid of the propensity of criticizing others, and those who are fully engaged in the mission of spreading Krishna consciousness, and we faithfully serve them. Who do we faithfully serve? Those who are devoid of the propensity for criticizing others. We look. These are adosha darshi. They don't look for faults. Simply I try to see the good qualities. As Prabhupada said, the bee is always looking for the nectar. Don't be like the fly who's always going to the source. Look for the nectar. That's to start. We can start there. And it's a challenge for most. Because the tendency of the mind is immediately, we're so conditioned. Looking at duplicity and fault finding. But then, how do we start? As a catalyst to initiate? Well, first if we don't look for faults, and then if we see somebody with good qualities, somebody that has qualities that because I looked at myself first, and I see, he's got that quality that I know I don't yet. It's a start. That's the next step. Because I took some time to look at my own heart to see where I'm falling short. I'm failing. I'm repeatedly, again and again, seeing this in others. Now I see that it's there in myself. And I see this person somehow is beyond that. Let me serve that person. Let me serve. You serve that person, then you'll get their qualities. But it starts by first. Otherwise, you won't find anybody. Just like, was it Duryodhana, when he was asked to wander about, to look who was somebody who's better than he is. He went throughout the kingdom and said, I didn't see anybody who's better than me. And Yudhishthira Maharaj went throughout the kingdom to find somebody who was more fallen than he is. I didn't see anybody who was more fallen than me. Is that okay?
So we often, and the point is well taken, we often want to avoid criticizing others and so forth, but I'm being the devil's advocate here. Suppose I'm in the temple room and we're after Mangalartik and so forth, and we're all chanting japa. And I see the devotee and he's doing the dive bomb japa, Hare Krishna. So, two ways I could see. I could just ignore that and say, well, if that's his thing, and I don't want to criticize him, so I won't go and try to help this devotee. Or I could, after a while, see, well, obviously he's having some trouble. So I can politely go and see him and say, Prabhu, maybe you could stand up. Or if you're really tired, maybe you did a program last night, you came back late, maybe you could go and rest a bit and come back a little later. Because obviously your chanting is not really respectful of what you're doing. You're chanting Krishna's name and falling asleep. Would that be criticizing? What should I do? Should I just ignore the person? Or I see someone stealing from the donation box. I'm not going to criticize him. Maybe he's got a good reason. Maybe his parents are poor. I don't know. I'm just going to turn around, pretend I didn't see that, and let him do his thing. Because I don't want to criticize anybody, because I've been told not to.
Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually explains that sometimes one has to point out. He has to point out in others. But first, he should look within his own heart to make sure there's no envy, there's no hatred, there's no pride, and there's no one other, four things, he said. He said, look within his own heart. And if one is actually genuinely looks within his own heart saying, I'm doing this because I'm thinking of the welfare of this person, then If the person doesn't accept it, that's their problem.
I'll just tell you a little story. One time when I was in Toronto,
Or you could tell somebody who may have a better chance of enlightening the person.
so Bibi Govinda Maharaj, who was a Yojapati then, he
But
was
the two people what?
Bibi Govinda Maharaj,
People.
he was a Yojapati then, and we were on Gerrard Street in Toronto, and one morning I was really feeling tired, and I said, "The hell with this, I'm just going to bed." He was temple commander, and a little huskier than he is now. So I went upstairs in Brahmachari quarters, and I laid down, and I don't know how long, I was really, really gone, and he came and he sat on my stomach. I'm like, "Ugh." I woke up, I couldn't breathe. And he looked at me and said, "Bouchin." My name was Lucien, and he said, "Bouchin, get up, and I will never want to see you lying down during Japa period." That was it. I never
like
after that, I never dared to. There was ways in those days of doing things.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna